Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Dr.ULHAS, for calling me and having me here in front of all the people from whom I have actually learned his bundle pacing and left bundle pacing. So I'll be taking you all, it's a pre-lunch session, but mine will be less academic and more story-like talk. So I'm not an expert, it's a disclaimer. So
We don't agree by it.
I'm certainly not an expert because I still think that there's so much to learn. I mean, every day I find something in the lab which is, dazzles me. So still I don't think that we should go in that line. Okay, so physiological pacing has just begun. It has came out of the beta phase and the hardware is still the first version and software, what software? We don't have any softwares. So we only have first generation hardware to work with. So how did I started my journey? So it was a shaky start. The first his bundle case which I was there was at my center in 2015, and incidentally it was first his bundle case in India. There were two cases done on that day. First case, the next morning the lead dislodged. The second case, the threshold rise to 2.5. So it was such a start of a his bundle program that for next 2 years nobody thought of doing his bundle casing. So my next attempt was in 2017, and this was again for a girl of, I think she was a 18 years old girl. And we thought, okay, we are putting a LV lead, but why give a RV lead to this girl? Let's put a his bundle lead for that girl. So we tried to have a his bundle, and incidentally, it became a hot CRT. So this was my first case at that time. It was not a selective his bundle capture which you can achieve. We were only possible to get a non-selective his bundle capture. But she had very good response, and her EF now is 25%, 50%, but the credit went to BIV. We put a LV lead, and that is why she responded. So it was not in a very true essence convert of his bundle pacing after this case. So this is where the real start happened. This was after 4 years of my initial exposure to his bundle and 2 years after doing the first his bundle. And it was the case number 4, October 2019, so it's just 4 months. 65-year-old man, DCMP, 30% EF, post-CRTP in 2015, non-responder, LV lead, non-functioning, came for replacement. So what was the plan? So the first thing, CRTP replacement has to be done. His bundle, left bundle CRT. Now this is very important. Inspired by Dr. Shunmuga, his doc and don't is the his. So I was introduced to Twitter by Deepak and Dr. Neeraj. And on Twitter I saw all those things, and then suddenly this thought came, why not do his bundle? So that is the importance of inspiration and a conference like this. It inspires people to do something. So another thing was again going his LV lead intravascular, LV lead epicardial. The plan was, okay, let's try his bundle in this case. And it was like miracle, like Dr. Neeraj said, you need certain cases like this. In 5 minutes, it was at the his bundle, very good potential. As soon as we started pacing, this was the QRS. So it's first time in my life I was seeing something like this, that in 5 minutes, a patient who was on CRT for 7 years couldn't get anything, having a QRS of 70 milliseconds. So when such thing happens to you, your beliefs are shaken, really shaken. And such cases are important as they create a paradigm shift in your thinking as well as your confidence. So this was the kind of copy picture book case that was the first case. From 82 millisecond HV from that site, it immediately shortened to 44 milliseconds. The QRS also shortened. Very good recruitment, and this was the ECG. Now, after this ECG, I was very excited. Okay, now I'm going to do more and more his bundle case because, as I said, it was only in 5-10 minutes that entire thing was done. So my next case, in the same week, so in the same week, I took another case, was his bundle CRTD. And in this case also, as you can see, the LBBB from 210 milliseconds, it came down to 104 milliseconds. And I was so sure that it will work that I didn't even put a LV lead. So it was LV lead, it was CRTD, primary CRTD, after doing a rescue CRT, primary CRTD without putting a LV lead. That would maybe somewhat more bold than I should have been, but the result is pretty good, and the patient is in follow-up, 3 months follow-up till now. Everything is going fine. So I converted to physiological pacing. Now you can say that it's a very short experience to convert to physiological pacing. More than the number of cases you have done, it's that you have to believe in the therapy. It's more like radialist versus femoralist. You have to first decide to be a radialist, only then you become a radialist. So for physiological pacing, for my purpose, I have decided for physiological pacing, so I go for it. If I don't achieve good parameters, it's not that I have not done anything in between. I do normal cases also, but my primary thing is that I will go for physiological pacing as the primary source of pacing. So my 3 months or 3 years experience, whatever you want to call, total attempted cases is 38, successful implants 35. Incidentally, lot of CRT and his bundle cases. That is why I have done a lot of LBBB pacing because of this subset. And displacements, no his bundle displacements apart from the first case. The displacement which I have had was again the left bundle pacing, and the lead went through next morning. So this was my first left bundle CRTD. Again, the very next week, 70-year-old man, ischemic heart disease, LBBB QRS duration of 170 millisecond. This was not a primary left bundle pacing case. Again, I tried for his bundle because I was not doing left bundle pacing. So this was my first left bundle case. Again, it is a CRT case. So LBBB, pacing from the his bundle side, selective his capture, not doing anything. I'm getting a small his. Even at distal his, I was unable to correct. And this was the left bundle EGM that I got. I tried from upper septal pacing, but didn't get anything from that side. The EGMs were not good. I screwed it more further down the septum, and this was the final position. And this was the unipolar left bundle capture, and it was pretty good, and I was pretty amazed by my left bundle results. And this was the bipolar. So from unipolar to bipolar, just like in the previous case, the QRS narrowed down considerably. So it was left bundle pacing CRTD. This was my first dual chamber pacemaker CRT for primary left bundle pacing in a 35% EF patient. Now, as you can see, it was an infrahisian disease, and EF was 35%, patient was not affording. So this was the case where instead of trying for left bundle, instead of trying for his bundle, I straight away went for a left bundle. So went for a left bundle pacing, couldn't get a very classical left bundle ECG, but still got a very good left bundle RBBB kind of pattern and total QRS duration of around 120 milliseconds. So fairly decent result for a dual chamber pacemaker. Now this was my first his bundle pacing for CHB with LBBB and EF of 25%. Patient presented with this rhythm, complete heart block in emergency. This was the rhythm. When his rhythm came back, it was LBBB, and his EF was 25%. And before doing left bundle pacing, I just put the lead at the his bundle site, and this was the result which I got. So I screwed the lead, and I thought, okay, let's see what are the voltages. Now, incidentally, this is the case. This is my only case where I got the best result of his bundle. So the correction thresholds was 0.7 at 0.5. So it's amazing what things can happen. You never know. So it's always my first, protocol is always try his bundle first. If it works, you never know where it might work. And if it doesn't work, then go for left bundle pacing. After that, I've done many cases of left bundle for CRT. This is again left bundle for CRT, left bundle for CRT, and left bundle for CRT. So all these cases, left bundle for CRT was done after trying his bundle. So like in the previous case, what I have found is that if you take more of these diseased infrahisian conduction system patients, my chances of successful his bundle implants were around 50%. Maybe it's different in some other centers, but that's what I have found. So my threshold for going to left bundle pacing is somewhat lower for these type of cases. If it's a narrow QRS, then definitely I would try more for his bundle. And because of my subset of these patients, so many CRTs and poor LV patients, his optimized CRT was something which I stumbled upon quite early. So we know about this study. So these are my cases of his bundle. So this is the first case. Now, this was a classical left bundle. Actually, Dr. Ulhas pointed out in the previous talk about this. What's the use of doing hot CRT in this case when your his only pacing is getting, his only capture is giving a QRS of 106 milliseconds? I agree, not much. But I mean, this was one of my cases of putting a LV lead along with that. But this was the case, second case where hot CRT actually helped. Over here, the LV pacing, LV first was not good. Simultaneous pacing was, his alone pacing was also not good, whereas the simultaneous pacing was good. And again, this was a left bundle pacing, not a his bundle pacing. This is again left bundle pacing for hot CRTD for RBBB patient. This was a few weeks back. This patient was native RBBB QRS, native QRS duration of around 170 milliseconds. From his bundle, nothing got corrected, moved to left bundle pacing. LV first didn't give much. When doing a left bundle pacing, isolated left bundle pacing, I couldn't get a classical left bundle pacing electrogram for this patient, in spite of taking a support of a CS sheath. So around 5 to 6 times I have to take a CS sheet support to screw the LV lead in. But in spite of that, I was unable to reach that site. But after doing hot CRT in this case, as you can see over here, we are getting by doing LV 21st, we are getting a very narrow QRS of around 116 milliseconds in this case. This is again left bundle pacing for hot CRTD for atypical LPBB. So this was again one case for atypical LBBB. Now let's talk about failures. It's not that I have not failed or there was not stumbling blocks. The first case which I failed, I was choosing probably the wrong type of cases. So this case was explanted ICD. Now this previous ICD lead was there for last 10 years. So I don't know what it would have done to the septum. On that side. I tried his bundle pacing, I tried left bundle pacing, and this was right side. So explanted lead and a right-sided his bundle. So I was unable to get, no matter what I tried, I was unable to get that. So did a conventional CRT over there. The second case was atypical LBBB. This was yesterday's case. Atypical LBBB, superior axis, V1 to V6, everything was negative. It was very weird ECG. I couldn't take it because it was just yesterday. DCMP and EF of 20%. I tried with whatever things possible, but couldn't get it done. I would love to do a hot CRT for this patient, but only pacemaker was the available option. He was not affordable, so couldn't fix that. But yeah, this is one of the failures. Now, Dr. Shunmukh pointed out that in DCMP, sometimes if you have a a mid-myocardial scar in the septum, no matter what you try, you wouldn't be able to go through the septum. So I took the CS lead support, CS sheath support in this case, but in spite of that, I was unable to go through the septum. So these are the failed cases. Now, what are the problems which I faced and how I overcome that? CHB while manipulating is pretty common. I mean, Dr. Parikshit said 7%, but for me it is roughly to the tune of 25 to 30% that I get CHB or RBBB. So I always keep TPI, but initial cases which, when I was manipulating with TPI, his sheath has a curve, so it just pulls back the TPI sheath. So from that time onwards, I started putting the RA lead as a TPI, and it works pretty well. So that was my learning. RV side septal fibrosis and mid septal fibrosis, you have to change multiple sites. That's the only way to get rid of it. Lack of support for screwing the lead in the septum. Now, I have had few cases in which the heart was really like a football. His sheath couldn't even reach there. So I had to take the CS sheath for support to eventually get there. So reshaped CS sheath for sheath-in-sheath support and kinks in 315 sheath. Now this I have faced twice. If suppose we want to get more support and we give more counterclockwise turn, now this 315 sheath is not that stiff as a CS sheath. So instead of giving too much counterclockwise turn to the 315 sheath, which can cause kinking, and if that sheath kinks, you will never be able to give the torque to the lead, and you will have a spin back. So again, so now my threshold for taking a backup CS sheath for support is lower after seeing these two kinks. So these were the problems and these are the solutions. So my conclusion is that don't get disheartened by some of the failures that you will get in initial cases. Like in my cases, I've been exposed to his bundle for 4 years before actually taking it on seriously. And you have to decide for yourself. Once you taste the success, like I did so a few months back, it's those cases when you see the QRS has narrowed so much, then you decide and convince yourself to go for this physiological pacing. And after that, you just have to strive. It's not easy, believe me. I mean, it looks easy, but sometimes what I have seen, I have myself have spent 2 hours, 3 hours in certain cases. So it might take more time, but let's not get discouraged by that. I mean, initial CRT also used to take 3, 4 hours. And remember, it's the first generation hardware which you are using. It's not the second. Things are not made for his bundle. So it might take more time right now. But we should not give up on this physiological pacing thing as of now. So thanks a lot.